Now that the tables have turned, I'm taking all that I've learned with me. Now I can see. The truth is what's burning free.
That's right. The truth shall set you free. Hello,
Yep.
our
Hey.
children of the lawn. Happy Thursday.
Kids, I'll tell you a funny songwriting song about that particular song. That one.
Are you telling the children a story?
Tell them a little story, yeah. A good little story.
You're such a good dad.
Let me get to the right place here. So, once upon a time,
Children.
we were writing songs for a TV show, and they made us change a bunch of stuff because it wasn't PC enough because it was a children's TV show. And on one of the trips to England to write songs, we we started writing that song because it was about the show was called Vampires. So at night they turned into the monsters, and the kids turned into the motivators, and when the sun comes up, it's all good. So we started writing this song, When the Sun Comes Up, and Alan and I are sitting there going back and forth with the lyrics. He pretty much had where he wanted to go with the music. And John wrote the middle eight, but we're sitting there, and he said, I want to write a song called When the Sun Comes Up. I said, well, okay, perfect.
And was the sun coming up as he said that?
Well, by the time we finished it, the sun was coming up.
Yeah.
But
John was a vampire.
No. Well, thank God he was, because Alan and I are sitting. Where were we? I think we were in where Doris was, where we used to watch the movies, where all the couches were in the entertainment room.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were in there, and John was, we would stroll through the house, and we would get in recording mode to a certain point, and then we'd break up, and if somebody had an idea to do something, it would be, hey man, help me do this. So Alan gets the idea for the song. So after the session's over, we're sitting in the entertainment room, and we're going back and forth. Okay, when the sun comes up, the moon goes down. You can find your way back home, and we can't come up with the answer. We can't come up with the tag, the rhyme. And so we're sitting in there, we have everything else. Now I can stand on my own, no fear of being alone again. The darkness ends the moment I see my old friend. All that stuff came easy. But when the sun comes up, the moon goes down. You can find your way back home. And we're just going nuts. And John goes, what are you guys doing in here? Well, too much of where we would try anything. We would drink something and try. We would smoke something and try. And so he came and he goes, what's the matter? And we said, we got this song, well, I wanted to do it tomorrow, but we can't finish the lyrics, and we're looking for it to finish the hook. And he goes, how's it go? And so we said, when the sun comes up, the moon goes down, you can find your way back home. And he just says, if you wait till the sun comes round. And just walks out of the frickin' room.
He was very, very intelligent. John used to could do crossword puzzles with an ink pen, not even pencil.
Yeah, oh yeah, with expensive ink pen.
I mean, and you wouldn't know it because his personality didn't really come through on the Who shows or anything.
Well, no,
and he wasn't
was
in a lot of interviews.
Quiet one.
Yep, and then nobody could understand him when he was doing interviews for the John Entwistle Band.
Yeah,
and
he couldn't hear what they were. We did this interview one time.
Wait. One of the stipulations was I had to tell all the radio stations, do not ask any Who questions. John wants to promote his band, the John Entwistle Band. So please do not ask any Who-related questions. And every time somebody would have to bring up the Who.
And he had answers for all of it. Yeah. Because really, at the end of the day...
Yeah, but they got mad at me. He said, I told you to tell them not to ask me. I said, I asked them not to.
And I remember when that whole thing started, Are you in touch with the other guys in the Who? Only through a medium. And he'd get pissed. I mean, people would bring stuff for him to sign.
Oh, he would
Who
not
stuff,
sign one
he'd go
thing.
nuts. There was the one.
One thing he
What's
would
the
not
one
sign.
where he's wearing the giant?
Maximum R&B.
No, Maximum R&B.
Yeah,
The picture where he's got no, not the picture.
Oh.
The album cover where he's wearing those giant bell bottoms.
John?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh God, he's wearing
I
like the
know
biggest
that
flares I've ever seen in my life.
There was that poster though.
And he was embarrassed, so embarrassed of these flares that anytime anybody brought the album cover, he would sign right over the bottom of his pants.
I did not know that.
You're talking about the Maximum R&B,
the T-shirt
black and
he
white.
gave me.
Yeah, the Pete one.
Yeah, with Pete is the only one on the album cover or on the poster.
No, it's not on the poster.
Poster, and there were T-shirts.
That's a great poster, though. Very artistic. It's a
yes,
cool
but
poster.
it's not the Who. It's Pete.
No, that's true.
That's right.
But I remember.
It's like
I
sending
can't
a
forget,
Christmas card from the Luongos and just having Steve on it. Doesn't work. No.
Someone used to bring one of the Who books, right? Written by one of the guys. I don't know. I can't remember which
Pete's
one.
Friends.
And he would write. We'd be sitting at the signing table, and they'd put it in. It was usually him, me, Godfrey, Alan, Gordon, Chris.
The chosen keyboard player
And
of the
so,
year.
yeah, the keyboard du jour. And somebody would. I've seen him sign some wild shit, and I've seen him get excited about some of the stuff. But somebody would bring this book, The Who, Before I Get Old, or something like this, and he'd go, "Huh, I'm not signing that." And I'd say, "What? The guy brought this book for you to sign." And he goes, "All right, I'll fucking sign it." And he opens it up, and he says, "What's your name?" And the guy says, "Tom." And he goes, "To Tom, this is fucking fiction." John.
We should get that book and read it, because I don't know what it was that pissed him off so much. But he was said every time, and it was somebody that Pete knew.
I don't want to say, because I don't want to send people.
Oh, you remember the guy's name?
Yeah, I know who it is.
Oh, what's the name of the book?
No, I'm not.
Come on.
I'm not going there. I might get it wrong. I remember the guy's name, but I might get the name of the book wrong.
Tim McCullen says Marsh hated him. Rubbish. John told me in '96. Steve.
Could have been.
I'm gonna get the book, Laurie. I am.
Yep. And speaking of a book, our guest today is an author.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
yes,
so
our
he's
guest, Hal Howland. Isn't that a cool name?
Hal
Howland.
It's like a.
If you're drunk, that's hard to say. I'm sure. Hal Howland.
If you're drunk, that's all you say. Hal Howland. See, that's it. It works for me.
H-A-L.
I like it.
H-O-W-L-A-N-D.
Yes.
Hal Howland.
That's him. That's
Yeah.
us. That's
He is an author, and he's a drummer, and I think
he's
he plays.
He is an authority on the drums made by Gretch. Now, if you remember, we had come on, Steve, brain fart. The Ludwig, the.
What?
Oh God! What's I'm embarrassed now.
The girl later.
We've had no. The girl? Yeah, the girl. Come and make me look good. Hey!
There was that woman from NAMM that was on. Remember? What is our I don't know who you're talking about.
I'm talking about the guy who runs the Mitch Mitchell fan club.
Oh, okay.
And,
yes, that guy.
Oh, God.
We've had over it's going to be over 300 people by now.
I feel like I was at an Italian wedding. Just like it's Uncle
I tell
Pete,
you what.
Uncle Gus.
I tell you what. I
That's
can't
why
imagine.
everybody got nicknames.
Yeah,
that's
but
why there was Dr. Fives. That's why there was TV John. That's why there was Mohib. That's why there was Princess Nirvana. That's why there was...
Yeah, but think about it on like the big giant scale, like someone said to John, I saw you in 1974. I was this and that, and I met you. Do you remember that? And you know how many people he's met?
Yeah, do you remember me? Well, anyway, here's Hal.
How?
And I'll show you how.
Hal?
I'll show you.
Helen.
I'll show you how. Okay. Here we
Okay,
go.
well, I'm not
Come
knowing
on
who the
in.
guy
Let me
was.
check
We
it
had.
out. You're not what?
I'm trying to find a guy, but forget it by now. Am I still looking? What?
Steve,
Hey, man. Hey.
that must be you.
It's pretty much me. It's pretty much me. Watch out! There's drums all over your.
Yes, well, yes. When Angus and I did the Zoom meeting last week to test this technology, I decided I better put up something here for some eye candy of some sort. Because
Well, that certainly works for me, man. That's cool.
We have eye candy all over
wait
our
a minute.
garage
What
and the
I'm
studio.
seeing. What I'm seeing is I'm seeing what looks like it might be a brass snare drum, thin, maybe a piccolo in the middle.
Yeah, that is a Gretch Gergo Borlai signature snare drum. He's a Hungarian drummer. He's sort of the Vinny Colaiuta of Eastern Europe. He plays with all kinds of people over there. He's a real
Like Vinny. I like Vinny.
a lot of beautiful kits. But this kit over here to your right is a Gretch Brooklyn micro kit. And while I was waiting for that kit to arrive, I got this Gergo snare because I wasn't sure that the 13-inch snare that came with the Brooklyn micro kit was going to work. And
well, the thing that caught my eye, and I'll tell you where I'm going with all this. I see it looks like it has maple hoops, but God knows the hoops are a lighter wood.
It looks
and
vintage.
what is the finish on that kick drum?
the one over here, that's called satin mahogany. That's
wow. Okay. So, and what are the shells? What are they actually made
they
of?
are maple poplar, I believe. The Gretch, and I don't know, when we were growing up, Gretch drums were all pretty much maple, 6-ply maple. In the 50s, they did this 3-ply shell. They were called Broadcaster, with a K. And then when I guess starting in the 80s, and then later, Paul Cooper and some other folks who worked with Gretch brought back some of the 50s style drums. So the Brooklyn line is made with maple poplar, and the USA Custom line, which is the ones that we're used to growing up with, that's what this kit is. That's maple gum. But
Okay, one of our viewers, Roger Chaffee, said, no, not question. He says, my Gretch kit is from 1967 and is awesome still.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a question.
I didn't say it was a question.
Yes. That's okay.
It's a comment.
Well, one of my good friends, Gretch Forever, Steve Ferroni.
Absolutely. Yeah, he has a beautiful signature snare drum of his own.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's I remember back in the day being in the music building when that Akai sampler first came out, and everybody was getting called to the studio to get their snare drums sampled. And I remember the day Steve got that call to say, But what's the finish on that set over your other shoulder?
This one, that's called Caribbean Blue Gloss.
Because I can't really see it. That's what started.
It's hard to. Yeah, I don't know. I just when we did that Zoom test last week, I realized I couldn't disguise the fact that my office doubles as my bedroom, so I just jacked up a bunch of drums.
Yeah, you know what?
Everybody thought, until you said that, everybody thought that, wow, he's got an extra room in his house.
Yeah.
Just go do this stuff, man. He doesn't even go in that room. Look, they're even just keep drums on the bed.
Do not point out the zit on your face, and chances are nobody will know.
Yeah. So I was reading a bunch of stuff. I saw that you've authored books. I mean, what shingle do you hang out? Musician?
Well, it's funny. I suppose I'm known more as a musician than as a writer, but I really sort of care more about my books than about my playing at this point. I grew up in D.C. I was in a State Department family, and we lived all over the world. And I got into music over there, and then took up the piano, and then got sort of distracted by the drums in '63, which was the year before the Beatles, actually.
Yeah.
Always Gretch?
Well, I had friends who had Gretch drums in like junior high school and high school. But Ludwig was well known then. And then, of course, when we all saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, everybody was falling over himself to buy Ludwig drums. So I played Ludwig for a while, but I switched to Gretch in '71. And Ludwig was always kind of the other woman, there was kind of like a back and forth. But I really do prefer just everything about the Gretch drums are just beautiful.
Well, it's funny, because the road for me, and I think about all the drums I've had over the years, and it's really set wise. It really hasn't been that many sets. I started off with a Slingerland, a matching Slingerland snare drum and kick drum. It had to be 50 something, black with the gold spray paint around the center.
Oh yeah, the Duco thing, yeah.
Yep, and actually before that, my first drum was I don't even know what kind of, some kind of, like $10 snare drum from.
Oh yeah, mine too, yeah.
Blue Oyster Pearl. It fell apart, but I used it as a tom-tom when I got the kick and the snare. Hi-hat. It was, and the reason for the Slingerland choice was Gene Krupa.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Because I was, if you recall, back in the, you were a Krupa guy or you were a Rich guy, kind of like Yankees or the Mets.
Absolutely, yeah.
So and then so when I actually was going to buy a set on my own, and I really wanted to have my own kit. Slingerland was doing this thing with Sam Ash where they put your name on a plaque, custom made for blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I was into Dino Danelli at the time, who played Sparkling Pink Champagne Ludwigs, but I couldn't diss Gene, so I got Sparkling Champagne Slingerlands, and those were actually the last wooden drums that I played for the rest of the century.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I worked in a drum shop in the late '70s, and that was when the American drum companies and the American car companies and pretty much every other American company was kind of overextended, and their quality control was really not very good, and that's when the Asian companies started coming in and taking over. But I did notice, because we used to rent Slingerland drum kits to students. And I noticed that of all the American drums that were still being made in those days, Slingerland was still kind of hanging in there as making good stuff. Everybody else's stuff was getting a little bit. Yeah,
the Rogers stuff was getting weird, and
they went from Swivel-matic to that memory lock stuff, and that was just not cool. And
I remember if you didn't have a Dynasonic snare drum, it's like.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what happened for me after the Slingerland set. I had heard in 1970 about this new company from Farmingdale, Long Island, called Fives.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And the drums were made out of fiberglass, and they were chrome, and I loved that. And I said, man, I have to have those.
Yeah.
And I bought a 7-piece kit, 2 kicks. God, what were they? 14 by 24s, and then I had 2 racks and 2 down. And then I met a guy who worked, because I was gigging all over Long Island at the time. I met a guy who worked at the factory, and he said, I have one set of melodic toms that we made for a guy, and he never came for him. If you want them, I was like,
no.
Twist your arm, yeah.
It's like I have a unicorn here.
It's crazy. So where did music go, and how'd you get into the book thing, and
Yeah, what are the books about?
Yeah.
Well, they're about a bit of everything. I guess going in alphabetical order since I'm a Virgo. This one, After Jerusalem, is, I don't know if you can see it, It's sort of a romantic thriller. Has some short stories in it as well.
Oh, wow.
I wrote in the '90s, and then a little bit into the present decade.
Oh.
This book called The Human Drummer. That's my first drum set, an old Ludwig downbeat.
I remember The Human Drummer. I remember that.
There's a bunch of stuff in that, and actually there are a couple of cool interviews in there with John Densmore from The Doors, Graham Edge from the Moody Blues, and lots of didactic memoir stuff. Then if you're sort of a Raymond Chandler fan, I've got this, which is sort of mystery fiction. Then there's more sort of short fiction in this one.
Banditti Cadence.
Yeah, wow. That one. And this one's kind of racy. And then just before.
Wait! You're going too fast. What do you mean it's racy?
Okay. It's racy compared to the three I showed you before.
Well, set it up for us. I mean, we want to sell books, right? We have a lot of women here.
Yeah, they're not offensively racy. They're just
no. The women like those romance novels and everything, those racy ones.
Yeah, well, they're all all my fiction kind of is heading in that area, and actually a lot of it does appeal to women.
Well, how did the writing thing?
Yeah.
I mean, how did the writing thing get so diverse? I mean, the Human Drummer, is that actually is it fiction?
No, that one is nonfiction. It's as I said, it's kind of a didactic memoir. My dad was he was with the State Department, and his function was cultural exchange and international or educational exchange. So we met a lot of really amazing writers and other artists. Just it was kind of routine. It was kind of crazy. As a matter of fact, on the cover of the book that I just came up with a couple of years ago, this is Robert Frost in our dining room in Israel in 1961.
Wow.
Anyway, he, just being around a bunch of writers and getting interested in language and English and whatnot at school, it was always literature and music kind of competed with each other throughout. So I was always writing all through high school, and it just got a little bit more important to me, as the music business got.
I think he's cultured. I think you are a cultured guy.
But let me ask.
I've been called worse.
Let me ask you this: did you have guidance, or is it something? Because I write. Mm-hmm. I haven't published anything, but I write stories. I write mostly events. It's not nonfiction, but it's. It's based on my life, which is relatively interesting from moment to moment. And I don't, I know people that studied literature and they know how to write and they do this and that and the other thing, and there's a name for this thing and that they do. I mean, did you do that, or did you just know what you wanted to sound like?
A bit of both. I had one particularly influential writing teacher in college, a guy named Frank Adams, and actually, there's a chapter in this one that's dedicated to him. But most of it was really just reading a lot and just enjoying the rhythm of language. I try to write euphoniously. I try to write in a way that it would sound good read aloud. And it just music and literature just always kind of they were partners for me.
Well, and I get that. I mean, especially I write more lyrics than I do. I mean, stories for me, they begin and they end. They happened and they stopped happening, and it's just a story. And I try to tell it in my own voice the way I would if I was sitting in a room right now telling you the story. I would just do it that way.
Yeah.
Wait. One of our female viewers, one of our children of the lawn, which is. Someone who's here every day, that's our fans, what we call them, children of the lawn. She went, What, racy? So I'm telling you, the girls like that racy stuff. They like Bridgerton and all of that. So
No.
Yeah.
is it a
Well
love
then,
story?
then hopefully she will like my books.
Well, let's tell her what the name of that racy one was again.
That one is called The Sculpture Gardener. That's this one. That's the purple one.
It's always the frickin' gardener, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
That's, I mean,
and the handyman is the one that kills everybody.
You know, a guy killed his wife. He said to her, "Where'd you learn sex?" She said, "From a manual."
Yeah.
Oh, but
yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
speaking of books and drummers, I guess you remember that the Ringo played the gardener in that horrible movie version of Candy. Remember that? From the late 60s?
I do.
And,
I do.
Well, you're not missing much. The book is much better than the movie, as it usually is.
I remember that book. My older brother had that book.
But he's talking about the movie, though.
But you know, well, believe me.
I just found out Mick Jagger was in a movie in 1970.
yeah, I think I think it was. I forgot the name of it, but it's sort of a pseudo documentary.
She just found out her camera could make phone calls.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm getting started on technology. I spent 2 hours today talking to Xfinity trying to get my phone to work again.
Is that how you write your books? Is on your phone?
Yeah.
Or you talk?
No. It was all the traditional method: manual typewriter, then an electric typewriter.
No.
Now an iMac. It's I'm trying to downsize to a smaller computer. But
wow.
There are 2 other books I should mention. There's a novel. This one is basically an autobiographical novel, so I basically just changed the names. There's really not much else that's changed.
Wyatt Walcott sounds like a country boy.
Yeah, well, actually, it's kind of a tribute. That name, anyway, is tribute to a wonderful percussionist I met in the early '70s named Colin Walcott. He played with the Paul Winter Consort, and then he and Ralph Towner and Paul McCandless and Glenn Moore, the bass player, they all seceded and became this great group called Oregon. And so that name just sort of popped into my head, and I decided to use that name as a tribute to him. But the book itself has really nothing to do with him. It's just autobiographical.
And what's the span of time that those books, what was the span of time?
Well, fiction-wise, from the Renaissance up to today.
No. I mean, from the time you started the first book to the.
I started the Human Drummer in the late or early '90s up in D.C., where I'm from, and then I kind of kept revising it, and I got to the point where I said I better just stop revising this and write a new one. So the one called True West is really kind of a sequel to the Human Drummer, and there's actually quite a lot of musical and drum related stuff.
And how do they find? How do the children find this literature?
Yes.
Amazon.com. And,
okay.
It's there are several old, outdated, and I consider unauthorized editions of these books floating around, which I wish would go away, but they probably
unauthorized. Oh, you got it.
Yeah, well, I mean, authorized just to the extent that they're either a previous publisher and it's a version that I no longer endorse, or it's just something that I revised so many times that I just want to forget about the old versions.
Kind of like John with those.
So wait a minute, man. So you released a record, and then you released another record where you.
Well, books. You can do that with books. If you're an independent author, you can go back and revise stuff and republish
whatever you want.
Well, wait, now, did you write a book and then have to go and get an agent or whatever and get a deal, a book deal?
Well, that's the old traditional method. Guys like Hemingway and Steinbeck and Fitzgerald, they all had agents, and then an agent would hook you up with a mainstream publisher. But nowadays, the market is so glutted, and there's so many people who think if they own a computer, they can write a book. That everybody and his dog is putting out books. So self-publication has become the rule rather than the exception. And if you're good at, editing and presentation, you can put out a book that's actually quite a bit better than the first edition that a major publisher might put out after it sits on their shelf for months or years. Because you have to. It's like the music business, but it's I don't know. It's just very frustrating because you if you're lucky enough to get an agent, then if your agent is lucky enough to hook you up with a major publisher, it could be months or years before your work sees the light of day, and you might not recognize it when it comes out. So I just took this over myself, and they're actually very good books. I'm very proud of them. And
well, I'm happy to say that that the fans of the show, we've had several authors on, some biographies, some just stories and so on and so on. And I'm happy to tell you that our viewers can actually read, and they do.
And Laurie, the one that asked about the racy books, said great. Several good reads for sure. I'll check them out.
There you go.
So there you go.
Very cool. Yeah. And I do have recordings as well. I've got 4. The one that probably would appeal most to your audience is a thing. It's kind of a goofy cover, but it's all original stuff. I play all the instruments on it except for 4 guitar solos. I play 1 guitar solo on here, and then I had a fellow you may know named Matt Backer play 4 of the other solos, but all the other stuff is me, drums and guitar, bass, and
that's cool.
Wow.
And a lot of harmonies. It's been sort of Beatlesque, most of it, but there's also some jazz and
And where can this be found?
CD Baby, and Amazon as well. When I lived in DC, I led a really fine jazz group called the Howland Ensemble, and we put out a couple of records. One of them is vinyl. I gotta show you the vinyl. That's vinyl. I don't know if you can see that, but these guys are actually still all first call players up in DC. They're very, very fine players. It's all original stuff. When LPs started giving way to CDs, people were asking for a CD version of that LP, so we made this one.
Nice.
It's basically those tunes plus some tunes from another session, and that session, this was
10 years and 5 days.
That's this one. This was from '95, and actually Peter Erskine wrote the liner notes to this.
Oh, a great player, Peter.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's I'm sure tons of other stuff we can talk about, but basically, my books are the.
Well, it's interesting because, like I said, I'll sit down and I'll write a story like I was telling it at a party, and I've done that several times, but I have no idea how I want to stitch it together. You know what I mean? I mean, it's I've started to write the first page so many times. It's just I know how it starts and I know how it ends, but it's it's hard to. It's, but I'm luckily I've had a little bit more luck with my sticks than I have with my typewriter.
Yeah, well, it's like music. It's practice. You just got to do it. And a lot of writers are compulsive, and they sit down first thing every day and slam out 5,000 words. And I'm more, do it when I feel like it kind of writer. Yeah. But it does require a certain amount of discipline. You can't just,
Yeah, I've heard that.
Expect it to finish itself. It won't do that.
And do you want to have them made into like a movie or?
Some of them could be. After Jerusalem would make a good movie, I think. And some of the short stories could probably be fleshed out that way.
What about that racy one?
Some of that could be too. I don't want to single that one book out as particularly racy. They all have, but it's not there again. You've got to be hooked up into the Hollywood community to get anyone to even think about turning one of your books into a movie. And there again, it could take years before it gets
I know something about that too.
Yep.
Believe me,
Go ahead,
I know
go
something
ahead,
about
yeah.
that too. We were lucky enough back in the '90s to get a Saturday primetime, excuse me, program. We did the theme song and 13 credit rolls. It was an amazing thing. They were going to do a movie, and then they just canned it. It just got.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how these sort of
They shelved it.
whimsical decisions can change your whole life.
Yeah. Well, isn't that the way it goes? All right, listen. I'm going to play a little commercial now. Pay the
Sure.
bills, and when we come back, Angus gave you the questions, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
I have a couple things I want to ask you about the
Yeah, I forgot
Gretch.
about that. And I looked you up as well. I got as far as John Entwistle, which I have to say is very impressive. I was
Cool.
very much admired his playing.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah,
Yeah.
still looms large in my life. But I'll meet you back here in a minute. We take a quick.
Absolutely.
All right, see you in a second.
Most of you know I live in Southwest Florida now, and one of my favorite places to grab a bite to eat is Jason's Deli. Scott and Diana Willis have been in business here for over 20 years. The truth is, Jason's Deli has bigger choices of better food. You can eat healthy and enjoy the taste of quality ingredients. They're open 7 days a week for dine-in, pickup, or deli delivery. With 4 convenient locations from Naples to Cape Coral, Florida, they are a must-try. Jason's Deli, where all good things come from wholesome ingredients. And Bradley's Jewelers in South Fort Myers. Diamonds, bridal, you name it. Estate, custom design, and expert repair. Bradley's Jewelers, South Fort Myers. They specialize in amazing moments.
Amazing moments,
Yes,
yes,
they
indeed.
do.
They specialize in amazing
Beautiful
moments.
jewelry.
Yeah. So if you
Yeah.
need a sandwich or some diamonds, let me know and I'll hook you up.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And before I get to the almighty career-defining questions, I should tell you, we have a little club that grows every week called it's Free for All Friday. I'm sure Angus, or at least I hope he told you about it.
You mentioned it, yes.
Any Friday, because you never. It would be interesting if you were in there when one of the other drum guys was in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun. Free for All Friday. You come in for 5 minutes if you're running down the street or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
You can go
people
jam
check
session.
it from all over the world. It's really it's a
Very
fun time.
Pretty cool.
And where in the world are you?
Yeah, where are you located?
I'm in Key West. I moved here from
Oh, that's right.
in 2000.
TJ's friend.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just gonna say I need to thank TJ for recommending.
TJ
Yeah,
and Pearl.
Pearl.
Yes, we have had them
Yeah.
both on the
Good
show.
time.
How long
a
you
couple
been
of
down there?
Oh, since 2000. And actually, TJ is one of the first people I met down here because I was doing as soon as I got here, I got involved in our very little jazz community. I suppose the jazz community is the smallest sector of any music scene. But I was playing a residency for about 3 years with Joshua Breakstone, jazz guitarist from New York, who's now living in Japan. But he was coming down here every winter, and we'd do this residency. And TJ was one of the people who hung out, and so I've always valued his friendship.
That's cool. He's a great guy, and he's a friend of the show. Comes in on random Fridays here and there. Pearl's always a welcome surprise as well, and that's great, man. So now before I go over to the almighty questionnaire, what is the connection to Gretch? I mean, is it like I love these or what's the
All of the
thing?
above. As I said, I had a couple of friends in junior high school who had Gretch. I started playing in the 7th grade, and I guess in those days and this was before the Beatles were famous over here. So, in those days, Ludwig was like the General Motors of percussion, and they sort of still are, I guess. So everybody pretty much started out with Ludwig. My first snare drum, as you mentioned, of yours, was a piece of junk. It wasn't any name brand. It was this basically a toy. So my first good snare drum was one of those Ludwig brass 400s. Before they changed it to aluminum and called it a Superphonic. But anyway, I had these couple of friends in school who had Gretch, and I just thought they looked cool, and there was just something kind of neat about them. They had those weird little features like Gretch guitars, unnecessary knobs and whatnot. And so they were kind of like always in the back of my mind while I was playing Ludwig as a teenager. But then in college, I really decided to check Gretch out, and I just fell in love with them. They just sound great. I like the idea that there's no reinforcement hoop, so the sound wave is uninterrupted. They just feel real good to play, and of course they look great. They always had the best finishes, in my opinion, and they still, and now they do. I mean, even more than they used to, because I guess Drum Workshop.
Sure.
Bought Gretch. I don't know exactly how long ago.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that.
I think within the last decade or so. I can't remember exactly when, but they as all the American companies suffered in the 70s, Gretch did too. They had a couple of factory fires. They had all kinds of weird stuff. And then a guy named Charlie Roy bought them. I think they were involved with Custom for a while. Made those weird amplifiers.
Yeah.
And then Fred W. Gretch, who is Fred Gretch Jr.'s nephew, and his wife Dinah bought Gretch back and continued all these great improvements. And then when Drum Workshop got involved, everything is just fantastic. There's everything, all that old weird Wahlberg hardware that would collapse in the middle of the show and all that. That's all a thing of the past, and they're just absolutely Stradivarius of drums.
Yeah, I know. Steve loves them. I see him all the time. Talking about them or play. I mean, that's if you love what you play. That's what it is.
I mean, it doesn't hurt that your heroes, play a particular brand. Elvin and Tony and Max and all those people. But it's really more about just once you sit down and play them. Yeah, that was it for me.
Well, you know what? If you can hit it with a stick, man, I'm a fan. So
absolutely, yeah. So, well, I boiled everything down to the stuff that I use for gigs. I don't have a big collection anymore. I've basically been downsizing for the last 50 years.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I still have that 5 set from the 70s, and
he has not downsized yet.
I have not downsized yet, and believe me, these were not little kits. They were
hard to do.
Massive kits. What's it?
You need to downsize.
Yeah, I do have. I got a couple that I would be willing to let go. Because, see, for me, they're all one of a kinds.
Yeah.
And and I mean, they really are. Either the finish is one of a kind,
and it would be nice for someone to love them and play.
I don't know if anybody would love them, but anyway.
I wanted the 5, because they got really popular among jazzers in the early 70s. And I remember I think they were one of the first people to come up with a clear acrylic kit.
Yeah.
And I thought they were pretty cool. One of my teachers.
They called it Crystallite. They called it.
Right. Exactly.
See, now you get the picture. Now you've done it. You see now what you've done. Look what you have done. Here it comes.
Yeah, here it comes.
Here it comes. It's coming.
Now, this is going to take 10 minutes for him to find.
No, because I just took this picture.
So I guess Russ Scavelli and Laura Black.
Oh yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, they're a big part of the local scene.
Okay.
We know them from New York.
All right. Yeah. Very cool.
That's those are 19. Those are 69, 70. The kick and the I'm pretty sure the toms are 70. But yeah, that's.
Yeah, they were all the rage, especially in the early 70s.
I
brought them back. I don't know how successfully, but I think you can still buy 5 strands.
You can, and I was thinking about, because I have you know what? We're gonna get sidetracked. I'm never gonna find out your favorite restaurant.
Yeah,
On the road.
don't mention drummers.
That's right. Listen, you know what?
Okay.
This is what Fridays are for. So
There
I'm
you
I'm
go.
gonna be a good host, and I'm gonna get right to the questions. And here we go. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay. All the traveling, no matter what it was, bands, this, that. You've been around. You have done, you know, some traveling. Favorite place to eat? Favorite restaurant? You know, you're going back to Philly. Oh man, I can't wait to go to Pat's or Gino's.
Yeah.
Favorite restaurant on the road?
Actually, there was a place in York, Maine. I believe it was York. It was one of those little coastal towns way up there. When I first moved down to Key West, I hooked up with an Atlanta blues guitarist named Roger Hurricane Wilson, a really fine player. And, you know, I had given away all my winter clothes when I moved down here. And, and I heard myself saying yes to a tour of the East Coast with Roger all the way up to Maine in March, you know, with snow on the ground. And I'm up there with a raincoat, you know. So musically it was great fun, but aesthetically it was a real pain. But anyway, there was this little restaurant in York, Maine, little corner place. I don't remember the name of it, but you could buy a whole Maine lobster meal for the price of bacon and eggs. You know, it was just.
Wow.
I know. It's insane.
If you like seafood, that would be the place to go.
Well, there
We
you
love
go. Well,
lobster.
yeah, we do. And you know, I'll tell you when Laura's from Louisiana.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And they sell shrimp down there like a million.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
$3.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's absolutely
Same here. We've got these so-called Key West pink shrimp. You know, they're the size of crayfish. They're fantastic. And actually, one of my favorite restaurants in Houston was a Cajun place. It was I can't remember the name of it. It was actually a chain, but they were very good.
Oh.
Okay.
We
All right.
don't
Well,
have
good.
any Cajun places here. Well, no, we don't.
All right. So now, looking over your performance career,
Yeah.
a lot of set lists came by, but that one song set list comes out. Favorite song to play live? What's that song?
Probably Tony Williams' Sister Cheryl, which is not a famous song to rockers, but jazz drummers know it. It's one of those very sort of zen-like beats. It's not real difficult to play. I can't really demonstrate it without the kit, but it's such a neat groove, and it kind of depends on the bass as well. The way Steve Gadd's 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover beat also depends on the tambourine on the upbeats. But it's just a cool groove, and it's fun to play, and it's, as I say, it's kind of, you just have to kind of get in there and relax and not deviate from it, because if you start getting busy, the whole thing falls apart. But that's always been a fun song to play. I mean, you know, for someone of my age, you know, your initial reaction to that question would be the Beatles, but you know, or any Beatles song, because they're just so much fun to play. But you know,
No, I get the Tony. Well, I mean, I saw Lifetime. I saw Tony that Banana Yellow set, man, and it was under the worst circumstances, so it wasn't something that I enjoyed. But I did see him. It was when he was playing with Jack Bruce, Larry Young, and John McLaughlin.
Yeah, that was a fantastic thing.
And they were called at the last minute because Lee Michaels canceled at the. I mean, can you imagine that? Let's get Tony Williams Lifetime to, you know, and I'm all there ready for a bit. You know, 14 days since I don't know when, and they played one song. Jack was so smacked out; he was leaning up against his SVTs, like it was just. They played one song for like an hour and 20 minutes.
Imagine.
Every once in a while, Tony Williams would bend over and pick a 58 up off the ground and go, baby, 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 and put it down.
Yeah.
It was just insane, man.
Yeah, I saw him play many times, and it was always stellar. He was, you know, he kind of grew up in public, so he could be kind of, you know, temperamental on the stage, but he was such a fabulous player.
No, great player, and good times. All right, so now set list comes out. Not so happy to see this next one. Doesn't matter what band, what era. I don't ever want to play this song again. No offense, but what song is that?
Well, that's a hard one because there's so many. You know, I'm mostly a jazzer, but I've played tons and tons of pop and rock and roll. And I guess, like a lot of people, I've probably had enough of songs like Brown Eyed Girl. You know,
Oh,
Number
23.
You're the
Is
23rd person.
is
Yep.
that okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm in good company. I mean, it's
Yeah.
you know, it's like, you know, in the 70s, you know, you got sick of songs like Proud Mary because everybody played it wrong. They didn't play that nice, easy, medium groove. Everybody played it too fast, you know, so it was more of a taste thing. But, you know, there's some songs like, you know, Brown Eyed Girl or whatever that you just so many times you just get sick of them. And
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
You're
That's funny.
23.
Yeah, 23.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
We just had somebody say it.
Yeah, so yeah,
Recently.
it's really the most.
Yeah.
It's the most
Probably
low
Tuesday.
composition that.
The only thing that comes close
Very
is
funny.
Freebird, and
Yeah.
that's only
yeah,
about
yeah,
five.
there's that too.
Yeah, but only about
Yeah,
5
but
people
that's
said
no,
that.
but
But Brown Eyed Girl,
man, I
you're
tell you what.
23.
We're gonna have to send in some royalties. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
All right.
Lucky number.
Okay. Yeah. All right, now I know you play all the rock and roll instruments because you played everything on your record. So drums are out. You play keyboards.
Yeah.
Keyboards are out. Bass is out. Guitar's out. Do you sing?
Yep.
Singing's out.
Wow.
If you could shred at anything but one of those things,
Wow.
any instrument, sitar, tablas, whatever, what would it be?
Well, I was gonna say I wish I were a much better pianist because that's really
Oh, so
that
there.
was my first instrument. But I guess I've always loved the woodwinds, oboe, flute, saxophone.
Yeah.
All that whole section of the orchestra is really pretty.
But he wants to shred at piano.
Yeah.
You could shred at piano.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
but-
should be a much better pianist than I am.
So then that's
So now wait a minute.
Yes.
Woodwinds. A flute would be a woodwind, right?
yeah,
And
I mean,
oboe has a reed,
yeah, it has a double reed like the English horn. You're good.
but
The oboe.
saxophone has a reed and it's a brass instrument.
I'm sorry, what?
Saxophone has a
Yeah.
reed and it's a brass instrument.
Yeah, well, I don't know how that got started, that everybody considered certain instruments to be in the woodwind family, but that's just what we call them, you know. They're
Probably had to do with money.
yeah.
Oh, you play the sax? Oh, sorry, no.
I think the first trumpet mouthpiece was actually attached to a wooden conical thing, and that was actually the original cornet.
Wow.
So it was called with 2 T's at the end. But you know, obviously that became a brass instrument. So you have woodwind instruments that are made of brass, and who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Okay, and this is a kind of a cool one, and I have a feeling I'm going to hear some abstract names for this one. If you could play one gig with anybody or any combination of guys, living or dead, who would it be?
Well, as I said earlier, I guess I would have, the knee-jerk reaction would be the Beatles, but I think you'd spend so much time thinking I got to play this just the way Ringo did that it would drive the others crazy. So if I were to think of a band that I could have made a real sort of contribution to with the skills I had at the time, it might be Gary Burton's group from the 70s with Pat Metheny and Steve Swallow.
Is that the spill? Is that Spill the Wine?
No, they had no. Gary Burton was a vibraphonist, or is a vibraphonist. He retired just a few years ago, but he had a fantastic. I mean, he was actually one of the inventors of jazz rock. He you know, he started out playing regular jazz, and then started. He was one of the first jazzers to try to bring some rock-oriented stuff into his music, and at the time it was radical, you know, a jazz band with long hair and fringe and all that stuff. But a very fine player, and I think Pat Metheny sort of followed him around for years because he just loved. They were both from the Midwest, and he loved the style of Gary's music. So he just kind of pestered Gary until Gary hired him, and the rest is history. Pat is a huge
of course.
And Steve Swallow, of course, is a fantastic bass player. But their drummer in those days was a guy named Bob Moses, who's still around, very fine player, but he wasn't the sort of that music didn't require the sort of virtuosity that you associate with, Weather Report or Mahavishnu or somebody like that. So I think with what I could do in the 70s, I probably could have done some credit to that music. It's not late for that now, so we'll go from here.
Well, that's all right. It's my show. You can do whatever you want.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's all good. Well, tomorrow's Friday. You're certainly welcome to drop in, but you really could drop in any Friday, man.
Yeah.
And
it's the same time.
It's the same time. It's just loose. It's just us hanging out. And the whole thing about the show was to get to either reconnect with people that I haven't seen for years or decades, or meet new people and forge new connections. So I'm happy to know you, man.
Yeah.
And this was very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I very much appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being here. Say hello to TJ when you see him.
Yep.
Give Earl a kiss if you're brave.
And we hope that
Yes.
lots of people buy those books.
Yeah.
They better. Yes, we
Okay. Well, listen. We'll if you want, if you want to at some point send me an email or text Angus the titles, I'd be happy to post them because we're all about
Well, I
promotion
did post
here.
that I posted Hal Howland's books are available on Amazon.
Okay, so that's all they really need to know, right?
That's all they really
Yeah. And actually, I did send some cover images and stuff to Angus.
Cool.
But if I've got your email as well, I can copy you on that.
Easy
Cool.
enough. All right, man. Well, thank you for being here. It was really a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Hal.
Get those drums off there and get some sleep.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna pack them back up and.
That's great. I love it, man. Take care, Hal.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye bye.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm having a party. Everybody's singing. That's right.
That was
That's
great.
right.
I mean, I wanted to ask more. It's because I remember that some of those weird Gretch hardware things. Because I would see all that stuff at Sam Ash, but I was such a snob about my instruments that I never wanted. If you could have it, I didn't want to play that. No, I'm serious. I was that way about my clothes. I was that way about all my drum sets.
Yeah.
I mean, after the Slingerland ones, from the 5, after I bought the 7-piece 5 set, and then when I
Mic on. Your mic's not on. Thank you, Laurie. Wow, Laurie caught that too. I didn't catch that. Thank you, Laurie. You're like
must have
a
missed
co-producer.
I missed the button. So yeah, well, there you go.
My mic's on.
So
Okay, children.
So children, that was fun. Tomorrow. Now we've got tomorrow is Free for All Friday.
How can they forget?
How can they? You cannot forget, right? I mean, you got to
And
be here for that.
The rest of Ozark starts tomorrow night.
See, she's in here. I'm in the studio. I'm sweating over a hot mixing board.
Yeah.
And I come in here and she's making deals with Hulu and Disney Plus.
Well, they sent me an email.
That's how it starts.
That is. So, what do you want me to do? What do you want from me? That's funny. Kitty Tiger turned up her volume because you had your.
Oh, and then
mic
I blew
off.
your head. Oh, no. Oh, and not at the beginning when the music. Now?
No, when you didn't have your mic on when we came back from the little clapping and things. She turned up her volume.
I like that thing. I like that Be Right, but those are beautiful colors. I tell you what, I can't imagine going to concerts and having stuff look like that when I was.
Yeah.
That's
okay,
the way it
Kitty
looked.
says you're on fire now.
That's the way it looked. That's the way it looked anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I saw.
So-
Oh man, we picked up something from Target, and you know how you do curbside. There was a young girl, maybe
Oh.
like 20, and her hair was like dyed like Raggedy Ann orange.
Like Annie Orange.
Annie Orange, and her face, she had like pink and orange like face glitter on. It was very cool looking, and I said, "Whoa, aren't you colorful?" I said, "I like it." And she just kind of smiled, put the stuff in the trunk. She probably thought, "Yeah, okay, old lady."
Did you? You know what? I'm gonna look in there and see if there's any glitter in that trunk now.
No, it was like put on there
Target
very
can come
well.
and clean our.
Put it on there very good. Okay, well,
Yeah,
that does
good.
it for our show tonight.
Wow.
Tomorrow night, everybody, Free for All Friday. So, I'm making a new recipe tonight.
Oh, all right.
Right.
Well, listen, I'll tell you about it tomorrow. And if I don't see you tomorrow or in the future, I'll see
You will
you in
see
the
them
pasture.
tomorrow. The children of the lawn are always here.
Stepping on my big sign off, bud.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You want to redo it?
No, I'm just gonna no. Don't see you in the future. I'll see you in the pasture.
Good night, everybody.
Take care.